Hey guys, it's Shelly Joe with Shelly Joe Hypno Aminos, the Amino Acid Lady, and Dr. Seth. We wanted to come to you today and talk about one of the first neurotransmitters, which is serotonin, right?
Yes.
And it's so important. And if I asked you guys if anybody ever felt worry or anxiety, right? Racing thoughts, OCD. What else is there?
Just like a lack of joy, just everything's just blah.
Yeah.
Not that you're like down in the dumps, but just meh, whatever, I don't care, meh, all the time.
Yeah, or like that depression. I always say that when you have the depression that goes on with serotonin, it's like kind of like Eeyore. You remember Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh? Everything is low. It's kind of like wearing this black cloud over your head. If that sounds like you, you're going to want to hear what we have to say, because serotonin is a huge part of why you might be feeling that way.
Exactly.
Right? So I'm going to let Dr. Seth talk to you first, because he's got these really big words as a chiropractor that he's going to explain how that works in his terms. So go ahead, Dr. Seth.
So the serotonin, okay, comes from that 5-HTP. Serotonin is actually produced in two different areas in the body. So we have one inside the brain, inside the brain stem. Again, the brain stem is what connects the brain, like the pink mushy thing that we all think about around Halloween. And then the spinal cord, that brain stem connects it, okay? So the raphe nuclei are these, kind of think of it like a sprinkler system. They're just these little bundles of nerves that produce the serotonin that just bathes our whole brain stem in the serotonin. Okay, the other part is in the gut. Okay, actually about 90% of the whole serotonin that we use is in the gut. Okay, and that's produced in the enterochromaffin cells in the gastrointestinal tract. Okay, so when we're looking at it in the brain, we're looking at kind of like the mood, anger response. We're looking at temperature regulation. We're looking at those types of things. When we're looking at it in the gut, we're looking at how the gut's actually moving. Are we getting a good gut motility? Are we improving that whole system with that? So those two areas that we're looking at. And when people are low, they'll tend to have some of those things like you were talking about earlier, like some of the depression type of feelings, the worry, the extra stress. But then it can also show up as constipation and things like that. Like, hey, the gut's not working as well. Well, maybe it's because we've depleted our serotonin, either one, because we already had a bad diet or extra stress and things like that. But a lot of gut motility issues can be because we're not getting enough serotonin running through our system.
Wow, it's pretty impressive, isn't it? So isn't it interesting to find out that just some of the chemicals in your brain and your body can make a difference? It can lead to some of these feelings that really can make people really miserable. And the one thing that I learned is that, serotonin follows the light, right? So most people wake up and they feel okay, but if you don't have enough serotonin to get you through the day, then about afternoon and evening, that's when those symptoms usually hit. And not saying everybody, some people wake up feeling that way, but for most part, right? Is that what you say, Dr. Seth? Is it kind of starts in the afternoon and evening, and the hard thing is if you don't have enough serotonin, you have nothing to convert to melatonin, which makes it hard to sleep, right?
Yeah, I can't sleep without melatonin.
Right, and this could be for children, teenagers, and adults. So we're talking the spectrum of all human. Could it fit into that? Some fit in that category. But when that happens, we usually look for something to make us feel better. And what I learned is that when your serotonin is low, first of all, you're going to crave something usually afternoon and evening. And that's going to be something like, it could be sugars, it could be starches, it could be alcohol, and alcohol kind of hits all the gamuts of the neurotransmitters. But if you've ever heard of happy hour, like around 3 or 4, for those that want to go out and drink, it's because their serotonin is low and they're going to look for something to make them feel better. A couple of the drugs that are associated with low serotonin would be marijuana. And marijuana kind of fits all those neurotransmitters too. Ecstasy. And the drugs that the medical profession use would be like Zoloft, Prozac, Seroquel, what else is it? It's those SSRIs, right?
Yeah, the serotonin inhibitor, like the reuptake inhibitors.
Yeah, and explain what that is, because that's a really big word. SSRI, serotonin reuptake inhibitor. Yeah, that one.
So what happens with those drugs is we have these little enzymes in between the nerves, like in the nerve synapse. And what they do is when there's extra serotonin, it goes in there and eats it up and kind of gets rid of it. Okay, so the SSRI actually goes in there, and on those enzymes, it actually turns them off. So now that we have more serotonin that's gone through, maybe hasn't been used yet, it's in there and it's not getting eaten up right there. So there's more for the body to be able to use instead of it just going through its normal cycle and being disposed of even when it hasn't been used yet.
That I've never had it explained that way. So Dr. Seth, thank you, because that's that's the best of what most people have, is to go out and get on some type of a SSRI. Now, this is my disclaimer. I'm not a doctor. I don't prescribe, I don't diagnose. I'm not against them per se, but I just feel like there are other options that aren't ever brought up, right? And that's what we want to talk to you about, is what other things can you do to help raise those serotonin naturally, right? Mm-hmm. Now, I have, as the amino acid lady, I actually have 2 supplements. This is what they look like, and one is called 5-HTP, it's for positive mind. The other one is called L-Tryptophan, and that's positive sleep. Just like I just said, when your serotonin, you don't have enough serotonin, you don't have enough to turn it into melatonin, right? So by taking a supplement like this that are natural, and the cool thing is 5-HTP is a non-essential, meaning your body produces it. Sometimes it doesn't produce enough, right? And tryptophan is a essential, means your body doesn't produce it. But by taking these, what we want to do is feed your brain what it needs. And amino acids are in a form that are ready to go right into the brain and to be utilized fairly quickly to help you feel better and to help release those feelings, right? Mm-hmm. And what else would you say? What are other ways that you know of, Dr. Seth, to raise that?
So with me, what I end up looking at is I look at how those different parts of the brainstem are firing. If we have different pathways that are firing too high and causing us to be more in this fight or flight, we're not going to be able to fire off and use our serotonin as effectively. So what I do is I'm looking at brain movements or eye movements to activate in different parts of the brain to kind of help balance it out. I also use a lot of gargling. Gargling is a great way to help calm the brain down, just in general, the whole nervous system, so then we get a better chance of firing off on those different levels. And it's, again, just gargle with some water, or even without water. It's just a great way to activate up a specific set of nerves in our brain.
To get those serotonin up. I know that you can use a circadian light. I use that a lot in the winter. Because if you've ever had winter blues, anybody have felt that, where come winter time, all of a sudden you feel that sad, that seasonal affective disorder where you really do feel sad. And what's happening is, we're from Utah, and if you're not from Utah, or if you know anything, it gets cold here, and it gets dark really easily, really soon.
Early in the winter.
Early, and so most people don't go outside because serotonin is raised by light, and we stay inside, and it gets dark so soon, and because of that, it causes our serotonin to drop. So a circadian light is something you can put on your desk, and you can turn it on in the winter, and it'll help you feel better. Yeah. Exercise will help. Food. Different kind of foods will help raise your these neurotransmitters, right? What would you say, Dr. Seth?
Well, another one I think of is especially like around like the winter, so like we have a lot of holidays and things like that, like that social interaction, getting out and being with people. That's another good way to help bring it up, good conversation and things like that as well. Help kind of stimulate that serotonin production.
Yeah. I know that tryptophan, what's tryptophan? You get from food, right? And when we say that it's essential, it means your body doesn't create it, right? You get it from a food or a supplement. Some of the foods would be like turkey.
That's the one everyone thinks of. You get tired after you eat a lot of turkey on Thanksgiving and whatnot.
Dairy, salmon. I didn't know the salmon was. What else would there be? Oh, I learned today that, what is it? Spinach.
Oh, spinach.
Yeah. Did you know that? I didn't know that.
I didn't know that one. Yeah, no, there's lots of different ones and great ways. Just Google. Google's a great way to figure out
Google's good.
where those foods are.
Awesome.
outside of the normal supplements and whatnot.
Yeah, that's
so.
true. So we just want to give you this information that if you're feeling that way, if you're starting to feel those symptoms of serotonin, there are supplements. And you can contact Dr. Seth or I. My website is hypnoaminos.com. Dr. Seth?
And we're at activatebrainclinic.com.
Yeah. So reach out to us. We'd love to help you. Keep smiling. See you guys.
See ya.
Bye.